We spoke with U.S. lawmakers and asked them what they're doing to protect the Jewish community and combat anti-Semitism.
I've been a champion for the nonprofit security grants to prevent places of worship, so we can be able to increase security for folks, because people should be able to go to a place of worship and feel safe and secure, and we need to certainly make sure our synagogues have the resources that they need in order to do that. My message is I stand behind the Jewish community, and we'll do everything I can to support the community. We're going to try to continue to increase funding for these security grants to protect synagogues across the country.
We are working every day to try to increase our nonprofit security grant program. We hope that we get that in the budget. That's going to help our synagogues, churches, places of worship to implement those security measures that they need. But overall, we have to do everything we can to fight hate and to combat anti-Semitism wherever it rears its ugly head, from the left, the right, or the center. This is something, as you know, I've been working on since I got here. I'm going to continue to find every tool in the toolbox I have to do that, whether it's legislatively, whether it's speaking out, or adopting policies, or doing things like the nonprofit security grant.
I've advocated continually and repeatedly that we need more security funding to be available to places of worship, community centers, to protect our Jewish community against the increasing anti-Semitism and, most disturbingly, the violence that's associated with it. And it's not only Jewish places of worship, it's also mosques, churches, and other places where right now the funding has simply been inadequate at its present level, and it should be increased.
You have this amazing platform as a lawmaker. What can you do, aside from asking for increased funding, to bring down the rhetoric just nationwide? There's so much anger and hate.
I've spoken on the floor of the Senate because I'm so deeply troubled as a Jew by the vitriol and vehemence of anti-Semitism and the violence that's increasingly associated with it. But more than speaking out, I've worked for increased funding. I've held events in Connecticut. I've attended events elsewhere. And I've tried to talk to my colleagues about the need for addressing this issue.
I think that people who are committing acts of violence need to be subject to the full extent of the law. And I think that's an important message to send. And I think the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is doing a good job with that. I think speaking out about how destructive this sort of hate is important too, and we ought to call it out. So I think that's an important thing to do. We want everybody to feel safe, right? And there's just no room in this this country for political violence, and that's what this is. It's hate-filled political violence, and it's unacceptable.
I think we need to, as communities, come together and work together to ensure people's safety, whether that is on college campuses. I've heard from students who are afraid to go to classes. We have to do a better job of making sure that we speak out when anti-Semitism is happening, but also to make sure that we work with local law enforcement to provide security as well.
I think you need to speak out when there's any anti-Semitism. I mean, that's one thing. I think we've got a big, as you know, we have a big Jewish population in my state. I think you need to show up. So I spend a lot of time going to Chabad's, and more so than some synagogues, but a lot of Chabad's. But I think the big thing is use your pulpit to stand up about anti-Semitism. I also think it's important to support Israel. So I think those are the big things. And then there's a variety of legislation you can pass. Yeah, as you know, we just had a search down in Florida for a new president at the University of Florida, and I was very vocal on that because in his prior job at the University of Michigan, he didn't stand up against anti-Semitism. So I think you just got to take every opportunity you can to be vocal.
We need the Department of Homeland Security to put funding back in protection of Jewish institutions, right? Like our synagogues, and it goes for all religious institutions. They cut the funding for that, so we need that back. And then we need real accountability for people who use violence. Like if you're going to do domestic terrorism, you should be treated accordingly.
When we can strengthen laws against anti-Semitism and terrorism. I think the act in Boulder, Colorado was a terroristic act. So we've got to make sure we have laws and we prosecute people to the fullest extent of the law.
In Washington, Shayna Estulin for TvAbraham.